Hello, I'm Dr. Jerry Montagna with Health by Lights. Today we're going to talk about a comparison between the barrier breaking Warp 10, which I'll explain that term here in a minute, and the new Super Pulse laser, and how they compare and what they both will or won't do. The Warp 10 was the first device, at least that I'm aware of, that was approved, or certified is the proper term, by the FDA for use in the United States. They've been used just on animals until this came through. So it became very well known. It was, if you read anything that talks about research by NASA and University of Wisconsin and the children, this was a device that was done and got approved by that way. So we're going to talk about the difference, but this device, as most of you probably know, is not made anymore. It was made by a company. It was a sideline for them. They were making all this money doing these other things, and this was a sideline, kind of a pet thing, and when the dad died, the three sons kind of kept it on but didn't really have the heart, and it was due to be upgraded because it was designed about 1998-99, so it needed to be done, you know, a few other things. So they stopped making it in September of 2016. Now they have to repair them for 10 years after that. So if you have one that needs repaired, you can still contact Quantum Devices. Very good. It was the best thing under $3,000. I was involved in their primary distributor the last 5 or 6, 7, 8 years, something like that they were doing it. But once they stopped making it, you know, because it was the best thing under $3,000, I had a lot of people contact me and say, what am I going to do now? Well, I spent several months and came across the Super Pulse laser, which at the time was selling for $3,000. They did lower it down to $2,500. Well, then I was able to negotiate opportunity to be able to sell straight to the patient at a much lesser price. This is the first true laser that was certified by the FDA to be able to be sold over the counter to the patient. So it's the first one that's considered safe enough that you can take it home, use it. You don't have to be trained over a weekend or longer. So many of them are spent 3 years studying how to do lasers and all that. This is safe, easy to use, and it's made for the patient is the reason that they made it, the purpose of it. So let's compare them. First, you can obviously see the shape. This has a much easier handle to be able to use. This one is heavier, and I've had some people contact me after buying this, say, this just doesn't seem like it's going to hold up because it's not as sturdy as the Warp 10, and the Warp 10, you know, is definitely heavier. And I said, well, you know, how heavy is your 1999 TV compared to the one now? The electronics is much lighter and better. That's part of the reason this is so much lighter. The other reason is this has 8 AA batteries in it, rechargeable. That lightens this load a lot, and the reason the handle has to be that way. And that has a big factor on the weight. This one has the lithium battery in it, and it charges. All you do is just bring it up, plug it in like your cell phone, and it's done. So the weight, you know, and this had a 1-year warranty. They have 2-year warranties on this. That's how sure they are there's not going to be a problem. I've sold a bunch of these and never had a trouble with one of them. You know, so, but the Warp 10 we didn't have trouble with either. They lasted for years. So what's the other differences? Well, this is a 670 nanometer. That's the wavelength that it does. And you can see it has a nice bright red light. They did come out with a 830 nanometer for a while, and I don't even think on the camera you can see the little red light. It's almost a white light on this. They didn't make very many of them. As you notice, I have one here. And what they would do is they would say, well, use the 670, and then after using that, use this one, and it'll go a little deeper. And they start saying, well, just make this with both of them in here, you can flip a switch. Or even better yet, have it make it where both of them come out at the same time. Well, again, it was a sideline for them. They didn't want to get into the expense, and it wasn't worth it to them to go through all the FDA stuff and everything else. This device does a 660, an 875, and a 905 nanometer. Now what does that mean? Let me show you on a little chart here. This is the skin. This is the device. In the blue is the 660. So that's how deep into the skin that the 660 will go, and basically the Warp 10 went at a 670. Went about the same. But it also has, at the same time, it'll put out an 875, which goes down in the red area there, you can see. But then it does the laser frequency of 905, and you see the yellow going down here. So every time you're using it, it is going deeper into the body than what this could. Now this was the most powerful thing under $3,000 when it was the only thing around. But now that we have this down to a more reasonable price, yes, it is more than what this was, but this is also not around anymore because they were selling it so cheap it wasn't worth the money to them. So you have to pay some, but it can help prevent you from going to the doctor all the time, and you can start doing things yourself at home and help get your own treatment, which a lot of people are wanting to do more and more, especially the senior citizens, we find it. So you have the shape, you have the weight, you have the batteries. The treatment heads are a little smaller on this than on the Warp 10. Yes, it is a little smaller, but the Warp 10, when you turn it on, would run for 1.5 minutes, which, by the way, both of them you want to put against the skin, and you want to put a little bit of pressure. If you've got the Warp 10, you're not putting pressure on, because the blood underneath will absorb the biggest part or biggest percentage of the light. So you put a little bit of pressure to kind of stop the blood from flowing underneath, and then you can get deeper into the body. I don't care if it's there or whether you're, take your shirt off and put up in your chest or whatever. But this would run for 1.5 minutes, and then you'd have to hit the button again and move it. This will run for 5 minutes. So you can hold it at a spot for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes if you want, and then move it. But you can also just kind of glide it. They call it scanning it. Do a scan, and you can move around. Say I'm going to do a joint, and I want to hold it there a couple minutes, and I can just bring it around. Instead of with that, you hold it there, then you hold it there, and hold it there. And you notice that this has a beep, which, for doing this, not a problem. But if I'm going to treat the back of my neck, it's like, okay, is it off yet? Yeah, okay, it's off, see? But you don't know. You have to kind of wait, and just like this, I turned it off, so I have to wait to finish the 1.5 minutes before I can turn it back on, which was just like now, it was a pain in the neck at times. But with this, let's say I want to treat my neck, and I'm back there and I'm holding it for 5 minutes, and I'm going to treat it, and then when it's done, I'll hear a beep and say, okay, it's done, I can move to another spot. But with this, I'd be back there and say, has it been 1.5 minutes? Okay, oh, nope, still on, so it was a little bit of a pain in the neck, literally, in that aspect. And I had a lot of senior citizens, because of this weight, say they had trouble holding it because it's so heavy. I'm trying to do the back of my neck, or I'm trying to get back in my back, and it's just so heavy, where, again, this is much lighter and works better that way. Let me check. Okay, if you have one of these, you'll know that if you use it 10, 12 times at the most, it'll overheat. Now, not overheat, it would say, I'm hot enough, you have to delay. We're going to delay, and it won't let you run it for a while. So, and a while means, you may wait 2 or 3 minutes. Yes, you can start it again. You're going to get 1 or 2 doses out of it, so you can't get another 10. I would tell people who had it, put it in the refrigerator. All you got to do is cool it down. That's the whole trick. Because, again, 1999 technology, it would dissipate the heat, but it had trouble getting rid of the heat. It does not. Neither of these devices put heat into the body, but the batteries would warm up, is what it amounted to. And that heat then would get warm in there, and the body would say we have to, or the device would say we have to hold off and wait. For this, I have literally used it for over 1.5 hours, almost 2 hours continually. Never had a problem. So with this, you're going to use it, if you use it 10 times in 1.5 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, and then it's going to say, I need to rest. This one you can use for hours, and it's not a problem. because that was the thing. We run into people who say, well, my elbows and my knees hurt. So the time they get one elbow, get a start on the other, they had to let it rest. And then they come back later and do the other. So it just took a while. So that is a factor that helps, you know. That's the main difference. 1999 technology, current technology. You get rid of, you can finally get rid of the battery packs, because 99.9% of the time, literally, when there was a problem with the warp lights, it was the batteries, and you'd even need a new battery or something was wrong, and continually have people, and still do have them, contact me on what can be done to get their warp working again. It's almost always the battery. So that's the main difference. You'll be able to go deeper with this because you have the 3 nanometers working all the time. It has the 3 different modes that you can go and use to be able to treat, whether it's healing, whether it's muscle stiffness. You know, it gives you different treatment options. Mode 1 is for healing, mode 2 is for healing and to help with pain and stiffness. Mode 3 will be something you want to get rid of. It's the scanning from 1,000 to 5,000 hertz, and it will, you know, get rid of pain, muscle spasms, sting of a bug bite, or whatever. Anything you want to get rid of is what you use that on. I hope that it helped explain the difference between the two. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. I'm Dr. Jerry Montagna with healthbylights.com. You can go through the contact area there, send me a question, and if I don't have the answer, we'll find out what it is. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.